The content presented in this podcast is based on real events and may contain graphic descriptions of violence, sensitive topics, and explicit language that may be triggering, offensive, or sensitive subjects to some viewers and listeners. Discretion is advised. The purpose of this podcast is to explore and discuss true crime cases for entertainment and educational purposes only. This podcast does not intend to glorify or sensationalize crime, but rather aims to analyze and understand the complexities of human behavior in the criminal justice system. We encourage listeners to approach this content with empathy, critical thinking, respect for the victims and their families. The night of November 16, 1959, a plane tears apart into the skies over the Gulf of Mexico. 42 souls lost in an instant. Among the dead, a trusted doctor, a man mourned by his community that thought they knew him. But the dead doesn't usually show up 2 months later hiding in a cheap Phoenix shack under a stolen name. What unraveled next was a story stranger and darker than anyone could ever imagine. Secret clinics, backroom abortions, forced identities, and a man who turned a deadly explosion into his perfect escape. Tonight we're stepping into the shadows of The Vanishing Act by Jay Jamison. A twisted true crime saga of betrayal, survival, and the horrifying cost of a disappearing act. Because sometimes a real crime doesn't end with the crash, it begins there. So how far would you go to erase your past? So with that being said, it's time to start the show. Let's hit it. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. I am your host, Wendy Schrader. Tonight, we're going to dive into a true crime story that reads like a Quentin Tarantino script. But with every twist in this story is real, and you're just going to have to follow along because this is going to be a crazy ride. But imagine you're a respected doctor. There's a plane crash, a fake death involved, and then a trail of deception that spans for decades. I mean, we're talking about a master con artist here. It's the tale of Robert Spears, a man who orchestrated one of the most audacious cons in American history. And the guest that I brought on tonight is here to tell you about that, this kind of catch me if you can type of scenario with his book, Vanishing Act, a crashed airliner, fake death, and backroom abortions. I mean, you can't write a movie better than this. But my guest, Jay Jamison, he has been an award-winning advertising copywriter for over 40 years, and he's had over 60 national commendations during his career. And now he's been kind of doing novels and things like that. And he focuses on stories that are based on true events in history that were fascinating and largely undiscovered, which those are my favorite. Now, this includes lengthy and in-depth biographies that he has written, requiring hundreds of hours of research and tens of thousands of contemporary articles. And one thing you guys should check out, and I'll definitely put a link for his author's page, but check out his Tales of Suspense series. They look fantastic, but I'd like to welcome Jerry to the show. Welcome to the show, Jerry.
Hello, thank you very much.
Okay, so your book about Robert Spears, The Vanishing Act. A crashed airliner, fake death, and backroom abortion. So, like, how do you go from point A to point B? I mean, this has got to be a crazy story. And what we're going to do with this one, we're going to have a two-parter. We are going to have a second part to this episode that we'll be posting at a later date because there's so much content and so many twists and turns. that I mean, it's gonna probably. I mean, we could probably talk about this for 4 or 5 hours, but the Vanishing Act. So, okay, tell us about this Robert Spears guy, kind of a backstory on him and what led up to, I guess, this plane airliner crash that he was involved in.
Yeah, you mentioned how to get from point A to point B. There is no point A to point B with Dr. Robert Spears. He
Ooh.
is uh, he is untraceable. He's untrackable. He had 26 different aliases. He was arrested in 20 different cities in 2 countries. He was imprisoned 12 different times, sent to prison 12 different times. And doing the research, I should say right up front, was along with my assistant, Julia Estrada, who did a lot. We had to track down thousands of articles to
Mm-hmm.
find out his story because if you can imagine, and it's all coming from newspapers, old
Mm-hmm.
newspapers, 1930s, 1940s, 1950s newspapers. His
Okay.
name changes all the time. It's never the same name. So you could be finding things. And so it was quite a trail. It's quite, very much
Bet.
like a detective type of situation where you're trying to say, well, I found that this guy did, wait, that's another name that he had, so
Uh-huh.
you're doing that. But in the large stroke of his life, he was just a consummate con artist. He is
Mm-hmm.
everything you could imagine, and he would do anything and everything to, one, get money, and two, evade the law. And that started
Mm-hmm.
when he was about 12 years old.
Okay.
He grew up in Oklahoma at a terrifically poor time in the 20s, and he is sent to reform school by the time he's 12 and 13, spends years there. Um, he actually never knew his own name. So whatever name he is what he decided to call himself because his mother had lots of boyfriends.
Mm-hmm.
And whoever she decided to live with, she would just change his name at that time. And so
No.
he constantly from, you know, his earliest memories is his name is changing all the time, which I think gives us a little insight into this person because
Yeah.
never knows who he is. And in some ways, he's a very tragic figure. But he goes on
Mm-hmm.
he eventually leaves reform school. He heads out. He gets a job at a insurance company and figures out he can steal the checks. He steals the checks. He starts writing checks. He's he's a flagrant misuser of all the money he gets. He buys fancy suits. He
Yeah.
brings women into his life. He buys exclusive hotel rooms, and it's only a matter of time till he's picked up. He's sent to prison every single time. He comes out after 2 or 3 years. Within the first week, he's doing it again, and he will do
Mm-hmm.
that for 60 years, pretty much 60 years, nonstop,
Oh.
all the time. And he ends up in Leavenworth and state prisons all the way across. He ends up in Alcatraz. He goes in. He is a model prisoner. He's loved. He's released, and he goes right back to it. But
Oh.
will end in a
Gross. Ooh.
quite dramatic crisis
Uh-huh.
when he is arrested in Los Angeles, is going to trial, and he knows this time he's going to Alcatraz, and he does not want to go to
And
Alcatraz. And so he makes a heinous decision. And
mhm.
that's the core of the story.
Okay. And yeah, I mean, just the kind of life that he led. He was just this wayward stranger, didn't know who he was. I mean, he would be there, he would just adapt to whatever he needed to do, and then he would, move on. I mean, wow, that having a life like that, and especially being a child and not know who you are, and having a mother teach you how to lie and to
Mhm.
con and to do all these things. That's obviously where he learned it from. So okay, so now he knew he was going to Alcatraz. What was this pivotal moment that kind of put him on this trajectory of where we're going to end up at the end of this story. But
Sure,
what
sure.
happened?
Which incidentally, on those aliases, we did a huge amount of research going through the prison bureaus of all
Hmm.
throughout the United States. And it's so interesting to see he's a different name in every prison.
Yeah.
He's called by a different name. So everything about him is so fascinating. But so he is arrested in Los Angeles. Um, he knows he's on bail. He's going to go to trial. He's on bail. He knows it's inevitable. I mean, the evidence is he's caught red-handed in an abortion situation. But he is
Mhm.
caught red-handed. There's no question he's going to go to prison. Throughout his life, he had a close, dear friend, a truly dear friend. And the two of them just loved each other. They were both married. They were best man in each other's weddings. They had known each other for 40 years. They actually met in prison and became very close friends when they got out. Their
Hmm.
families were close. And he calls his friend and says, his friend lives in Tampa and says, I'm going to come out to Tampa. I've got a business opportunity. I think it's going to work really good for us. So why don't
Okay.
we meet in Tampa? So they meet at the Tampa airport, the Tampa International Airport. We're in the coffee shop. They're there, they're laughing, they're having a good time. And he said, okay, because Dr. Spears actually lives in Dallas, a
Okay.
very exclusive neighborhood, socialite wife, 2 children, beautiful mansion. And he says, tell you what, and this is Al Taylor is his friend. That's his friend. Tell you what, Al, um, I'm going to fly back to Dallas. You drive out there. We'll meet at my house, and I have business meetings set up, and we're going to start a business together. Oh, great. Then at the last minute, Al says, according to the records, Al says,
Hmm.
a really bad neck. I was in an accident recently, and my neck really hurts. And Dr. Spear says, well, you know what? Why don't you take my plane ticket? You fly. I'll drive your car. And in those days in the 1950s, you could just switch a plane ticket, something
Yep.
we don't realize now. He said,
Hmm.
you give me your registration, you give me your wallet, you give me your keys. I'll drive your car out there because it just sounds like a road trip sounds like fun to me. You fly over. And when you land, just go over to my house. My wife's expecting you. And here's a package if you could give that to her. Now, this is cash. I need to deliver some cash to her. So this is a package of cash. So don't lose it. Sure, no problem. He gets on the plane. Dr. Spears drives off in the car, and 22 minutes later, the entire airliner blows up. It's such an explosion that it goes straight into the Gulf of Mexico, and to this day has never been recovered because it went so deep that divers can't get that far down. So it's still
Wow.
today. Everybody on plane, the pilots, the crew, 42 passengers are killed instantly.
He did that to his best friend?
Dear friend, a
Oh my,
dear friend, yes.
that's awful. So I'm assuming the package was not, was it cash or was it something else?
It was a time
Mm.
bomb. It was a time
Oh
bomb.
my gosh.
He handed it to
Yeah.
him, said goodbye, and then when of course, this is in every newspaper in the nation now. A plane goes down,
Hmm.
National Airlines. It's a flight from Tampa to Dallas. All souls are lost. Everybody's lost. And they list, as with every tragedy, every plane tragedy, as we know, the next day in the papers, these were the people that were on the plane, and you start getting the little stories, right? She
Hmm.
she was just married. She was flying back to see her mother, uh, parents going to a graduation, just all of these heartbreaking stories. And among those is Dr. Robert Spears, a highly regarded OBGYN from Dallas who was lost in the plane. His wife and 2 children are distraught. They are just
Yeah.
devastated. Husband and father is killed in the plane crash. Um, she's at home, just barricaded there. Neighbors are coming over, bringing food. She's just sobbing all the time because she's lost her husband. And she loved her husband and he loved her greatly. It was a
Uh-huh.
great love and loved
Yeah.
his children. And so in the meantime, he's driving through Louisiana, he's driving through the southern states on his way to Dallas. And
Wow.
he has Al Taylor's registration. He has Al Taylor's wallet. He has everything
Hmm.
he needs to become Al Taylor.
Wow. So he basically, yeah, just took over his friend's life. Now, when he went back to Dallas, did he go back home? I mean,
No,
like,
no,
or he completely cut himself off from his
he's
wife,
dead. He's
kids.
dead to
He's
them.
dead to, okay, so he
You know what?
wasn't going to come back.
What he
Okay.
does though is interesting. He drives there and he pulls up across the street from his home,
Hmm.
watches the neighbors coming over, watches her come to the door sobbing and they're hugging her, watches his children walk back and forth crying, and he just parks there for about an hour and just watches them. And then he drives off.
Wow.
That's it.
To
But
put your
there's
family
more.
through that. Oh my
Oh,
God.
I know. As children, they were 8 and 2, and just a devastating experience. And of course, it's a plane crash too. It's not a, you know, something minor. It's a plane crash. It's being talked about everywhere. And it's being talked about because he was such a high profile doctor in Dallas
Mhm.
as well.
And that was one thing I wanted to ask. With his growing up in poverty, going to reform school. I mean, did he really go to school to become I mean, did he graduate and get like a master's or I mean, like I don't know. I mean, did he get his medical license properly? Because it seems like, he may have conned his way to get that too. And how would that transfer when he's taking different identities as well? I mean,
Yeah. First of all, Robert Spears didn't do anything properly.
yeah,
Nothing in his
it sounds
entire
like it.
life did he do properly. Yeah. Um, I think he bought a fake uh, certificate from Duke University that he had graduated from Duke.
Okay.
He, for $500 out of the back trunk of some guy, he bought a medical license in Maryland. Paid $500 for the medical license. Um, in He set up shop in Maryland, but he heard that there was a lot of business to be done and we know what business we're talking about. There's a
Yeah.
lot of business to be done in Texas because there were wealthy oil men and cute secretaries.
Uh-huh.
And that was there was a heyday for that, for abortion in that day. So
Yeah.
Texas was the only state in the United States where you could transfer a medical license without having to take the boards again. So he transfers his medical license to Texas. Once you have a medical license in Texas, we're talking 1950s, once you have established it, it can never be taken away and it can never be questioned. So he is now legitimately an OBGYN in Texas. Although
Oh.
everything that leads to it is fraud. Once he's there, it's now established. It's
Oh.
sealed. Yeah.
Did he have any proper medical training, or is he just like how is he learning? I mean, obviously he becomes this world-renowned OBGYN. How does he become that with not doing what a normal doctor does to become a world-renowned doctor? You know what I mean? Like, I,
No, he had no medical experience whatsoever, none.
oh my God.
I mean, by that I mean he had never read a book, so there's nothing. However, we need to recognize that a renowned OBGYN was only a code for an abortionist.
Okay.
That's all it
All
was.
right. That's all
So
it was.
he, let's just say he learned some procedures
Uh-huh.
from somebody. He learned a procedure and he could do that procedure. Uh, he also started inventing serums and formulas where he didn't have to do surgery, didn't have to do a
Uh-huh.
procedure. And those decimated the women.
Hmm. Gosh.
Because I know the real stories, the tragedy of this extends so far beyond a plane crash, really, because
Eh,
as bad as that is, it's just as tragic. And of course, the women are never ever going to go to the police.
right, because back
They,
then it was
well, they're going to
illegal.
go to prison if they had
Yeah.
if they have this procedure. They are going to prison, and
Mhm.
the men who are paying for the procedures are wealthy and powerful. So in 1959, he charged up to um, $5,000 an abortion. And that's $50,000 today. That's $50,000 an abortion, and he booked
Wow.
them all day long. So he had an
Mm.
OBGYN clinic. He advertised, I mean, I found the ads in the Dallas newspapers, and it would say, you know, OBGYN specialist in female issues. And that was the code. That was the code at that time, female issue.
Okay.
And so the women that came and the men that took them there, um, first of all, nobody's asking questions. Nobody's saying, you know, how safe is this? It's like
Mhm.
this needs to be taken care of quickly. And he's
Wow.
making massive amounts of money with when I say no medical training, it's
I think
it's
he probably
terrifying.
he probably practiced on a turkey. It's like seriously, like how could I don't understand how he could have his own clinic with all the fraud. Like there were no checks and balances, no regulations when it came to this, and he's just posing as this medical doctor performing, but especially back then, performing procedures that were very dangerous for
Yes,
women to
yes.
begin with. And just to sit there and be like, yeah, I'm a doctor. It's like he got his license out of a Cracker Jack box. I mean, come
It's
on.
like it's literally what happened. So
Oh,
and he did this
scary.
over time. He did it from state to state, and was
Mm-hmm.
highly successful, which ultimately leads him to California because that is becomes the next lucrative state
Mm-hmm.
region, and it's because of Hollywood. So
Okay.
he's
Yeah.
now getting connected to Hollywood.
Yeah, and that's what I really want to talk about in that bonus episode because, like, there's a lot of inner workings within Hollywood that people probably don't even know about. And just to have, yeah, it's almost like kind of having like a mob doctor handy for you or
Exactly.
something like that. He was a doctor for hire for, you know, Hollywood people to get rid of problems. And but like I said, just to know that he's doing all this and nobody's questioning him in his medical profession and oh God, that is so terrifying to know that he was doing this. Now,
When you think about this too, there probably are parallels today because once someone becomes established in any field as the expert,
mhm,
then they're only considered to be the expert. And someone who questions the expert, someone who comes in and says, "Well, can you prove this?" They become the one that is questioned. Eh,
mhm,
the heat falls on the person who's questioning. So
yeah,
if you can I mean, especially in the 1950s, you're talking about status too. Uh,
mhm,
in Dallas, Texas, in that culture, that's huge. The
mhm,
status of the people. If this person is a famous lawyer, a famous doctor, they're beyond reproach. They're not going to be questioned. And their house tells you they're legit.
mhm,
Their family tells you the car they drive says, well, they can't be fake. I mean, look at the car
right,
he drives. So it is an interesting thing. And I do think there are some parallels to today, uh, especially when you can create your own persona, you know,
mhm,
where you can
yes,
online create who you are and what you say, and people can quote you and say, well, according to experts.
mhm,
I think there's a real parallel here that this ability to create yourself, and in his case, continually recreate himself.
Right.
I mean, at one point in Kansas, he was a um, gypsy guru with a turban and fortune teller. I mean, it's like whatever it takes. That's what I would take. And he had the mayor's wife as his number one client. So he's like, everybody's going, well, the mayor's wife goes to him, and she says he tells the future. It's like
Oh, yeah.
exactly what he would do.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the movie Catch Me If You Can, about Frank
Well,
Nightingale
I'll
or
tell you this to cue it up in the second episode when we do it.
uh-huh.
The parallel to Catch Me If You Can is incredible because just like Tom Hanks was chasing Leonardo DiCaprio, uh,
Uh-huh.
we have an LAPD detective chasing Dr. Spears. And it is
Ooh.
very interesting, this one-on-one, mano-on-mano type fight between these two men. And that'll be in the next episode.
That will be awesome because yeah, it's just very reminiscent. That's I keep getting movie scenes in my head as you're talking because the way he can just adapt, it's like a chameleon. They can
Yes.
just quickly figure out how they can adapt to any situation and create a con around it. I mean, honestly, I mean, granted, it's horrible that they do these to people, but how witty and like quick-witted and smart you
Yeah.
have to be to do this and to make
You
it
know,
convincible.
I spent
You know?
I spent a lot of time with this guy, and it's a weird affinity that you develop
Mm-hmm.
because, as I would discover, you have to keep in mind, I mean, there's not other books. So you don't just sit there and say, you don't open an encyclopedia or a Wikipedia page and say, well, I know his whole story. The
Right.
story came to life over time, over the course of a year. Like, wait, he's in Maryland now, or he's in New Jersey now, and he has a different name and he's doing a different thing. And, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And so you, in a weird way, you kind of admire that he can just keep reinventing himself really until the plane crash. And then
Yeah.
you can never put this together because I read so much about the stories of each of those 42 people. And
Yeah.
it's hard to get past that. Very, very hard.
Yeah. And we're gonna take a quick break and I kind of want to talk about like, did he have any type of empathy or anything for doing what he did? Because I mean, that's a huge statement to try, or well, just a huge event to try and change the trajectory of what you want to do for your next con. It's just like it just the balance there it doesn't
Yeah.
seem fair at all. And to kill innocent people and his dear friend that has been the one person in his life that he could depend on and trust and feel comfortable with, he just opt them on the plane. So, yeah, I kind of want to discuss that after the break and just see
And
if
we'll also talk about what makes it unravel.
yes, yes, most definitely, because yeah. I can't imagine how this is going to unravel. That's going to lead into the whole other episode. This is going to be fascinating. I know my listeners are going to love this. Again, we're talking about the book Vanishing Act, A Crashed Airliner, Fake Death, and Backroom Abortions with author Jerry Jamison. I will have a link for that in today's description for the book, along with his author's page, because he has written quite a few books, and I love the Tales of Suspense series books. They look fascinating. I love the retro feel they have. It's got that kind of that 50s, 60s short thrillers that we always used to get. Yeah, well, I did. I was born in the 80s, but uh, we still had them around in my house because I had baby boomers for parents and they wanted to keep everything. So, but yeah, like that's what it reminds me of. And sometimes people you need to replenish your mind with just some fiction, some good fiction to get you out of the whole mindset of today's world, because trust me, watching the news right now is like watching a horror movie. It's just, oh God, what's the damage report today? But yeah, so make sure you guys check out all of his books. I know you'll like them. And do you have a website or anything that people can go to?
Yeah. JerryJamison.com. You see the name on the screen, spelled how it's spelled. It's just JerryJamison.com. There's over 30 books on there.
Oh, perfect. And I'll have a link for that in today's description as well. So we're going to take a
And
quick
if you go
break
to
and
my
we'll.
website, you get to see what I looked like as a hippie in 1970.
Oh, Hippie Jerry, let's go.
Yeah, bonus.
It's a bonus. Yes, go make sure you go to check that out. And we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Are you feeling lost, stressed, wondering if Mercury is ruining your life again or the universe is just ghosting you? Well, you're not alone. At Love and Lotus Tarot, I keep it real. No crystal balls, no woohoo, just honest, grounded guidance to help you navigate life's chaos. Whether you need clarity on love, career, or just anything that feels like a mess, I've got you. Here's something really cool. In between tarot sessions with me, I just put out this new journal book, your very own purge journal. Don't hang on to all that angst and all that stress and all that anger. Get rid of it. Whether it's valid or not, you still have that emotion just eating away at you. So purge them onto paper, scream it, shout it, get it out. They're available right now on Amazon. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description below, or just visit me at lovelotustarot.com and purchase your purge journal there. Visit lovelotustarot.com to book a reading, check out some of the new merch, and find the insight you've been searching for. Because let's be honest, therapy is expensive and my cards are way cooler anyways. So head on over to lovelotustarot.com now and let's figure out this thing called life together. Okay, and we're back from the break. Now before the break, we were kind of alluding you know, this Dr. Robert Spears, if that's what you want to call him. Robert Spears, you know, he's led this life. He's a chameleon. He adapts to whatever he needs to do to get by, to con people, get money, whatever. And then it led up to this horrible, horrible plane crash where he gave his dear friend a box to take to his wife, which happened to be a bomb, and it blew up the plane. So he assumed his identity. Um, how did this start to unravel for him? And I mean, is that why he went to California? Because everything was kind of falling apart for him in Dallas?
No, that's actually all of that is happening before the plane,
Okay. Okay.
because he's arrested there, and that is the motivation. I've got to disappear.
Yeah.
So that's the seed of somehow I've got to now. The option of just going to Mexico, that's an option, but no, he
Right.
decided to take down an entire airliner instead. So the unraveling of it is as interesting as the situation itself. So
Mm-hmm.
he is he actually drives. He ends up in Arizona, and he meets up with an old friend, and he's staying in a kind of a desert house out in the middle of nowhere. So he's really safe and out of the picture. He's in fine shape. But
Okay.
what does happen is that Al Taylor, the real Al Taylor, the Al Taylor that died on that plane,
Mm-hmm.
never goes home that night to his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going, "Where's my husband?"
Right.
And during this time is their son's birthday. And she
Oh,
says he would never, ever miss his son's birthday. He loves his son. He would never disappoint his son. And so she goes to the police and says, "I think something's wrong." And they blow her off completely. They're like, "You know what? Because they were separated at this time, he's gone. This happens all the time." They pay no attention to her until she says, what was the last thing he was doing? Well, he was going to meet his best friend, Robert Spears, at the cafe at the Tampa International Airport.
okay.
And she said, "What's odd about that is I know Dr. Spears was flying out, but it just seems odd that that was the last time he was seen,
Mm-hmm.
person that's getting on this plane." And she says right off the bat, "I bet he switched identities." Immediately, she says that. She says, "I bet my husband got on the plane because he never came home. And the
Wow.
other guy can't be found." So,
Mm-hmm.
she's putting it together. Nobody else is, and nobody else is particularly interested.
It's
And
nuts.
Then the most interesting thing happens. Apparently, Al Taylor, and this, some of your listeners will have to know or remember how it was in the 1950s, but he was
Mhm.
seated on the plane, and 10 minutes before the plane was going to take off, he gets up out of his seat and he leaves the plane, goes back into the airport. And at that time in the 1950s, they had vending machines for flight insurance, life insurance. So they had actual vending machines, and some of your listeners will, I mean, I remember this plainly. You go in, you put in a bunch of quarters, ding, 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 ding. You get a policy, you get a receipt. You, on that, you fill out who's the beneficiary. I mean, I think he paid $1.75 or something for it. And
Oh, wow.
and
He
in
had no
today's
idea.
money, that was $100,000 of life insurance. So he signs up for life insurance, makes his son his beneficiary, gets back on the plane, and the plane takes off. 3 days later, the wife gets a packet in the mail, and it's from the Omaha Mutual Life Insurance Company. And it says, your husband took out plane insurance. And she says, he never got on a plane. What do you mean? He wasn't flying anywhere.
Uh-huh.
Then it's when she feels
Oh.
pretty confident. I think he got on the plane. I think at the last minute he got flight insurance for with his son. Maybe just a hinky feeling, I don't know.
Mhm.
And she has a policy now saying if he was never flying, he would have never taken flight insurance.
Right.
So
Right. And,
she becomes the prime mover of the investigation. Now
wow.
she's in a battle with Dr. Spear's wife, and I mean a fierce journalistic battle between Tampa and Dallas because Mrs. Taylor is
Mhm.
blaming her husband. I think, I think he killed my husband, his best friend. She's firing back. No, you guys had a terrible marriage. It's all sour grapes. I mean, now it's in the press. These two women, it's a cat fight through the
Oh
two
my
newspapers,
gosh.
the Tampa Bay newspaper and the Dallas newspapers. And it's a full bore thing. It's 1959. It makes television, it makes radio, it's all over the place. Uh, of these two women in this massive cat fight over is he dead? Who's dead? And who did it?
Yeah. Oh my
But
God.
of course, now by this time, the FBI are involved, the police are involved, everybody's involved because Mrs. Taylor has raised enough legitimate questions about where
Yeah.
is he, and
Mhm.
they're on the hunt for that car. We know it was a a coral and cream car. They knew exactly what it looked like. It was brand new, and
Mhm.
it's a nationwide search for this car to try and find
Okay.
him, which he has hidden in Arizona.
Okay. So he hid the car and he's just laying low right now out in a hut somewhere in the middle of the desert. Oh my gosh, it's very reminiscent of how they found Charlie Manson.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
it's that kind of a place too. I mean, I have photographs of, of this hideaway. It was really
yeah,
what
like
it
a
is.
shack.
Yeah,
Oh
and
my
while he's
God.
there, he drives to Los Angeles and gets all of his abortion equipment, brings it back to Arizona, and sets up practice in that little hideaway shack hideout.
No, no, is he no, obviously he's not using, is he using his friend's name? Because I would, so is he using his friend's name to give the illusion that his friend just up and left his wife and wants nothing to do? Or
By
is,
this time, he's gone to another name.
okay, so he's not even using Al Taylor's
He just
name at all.
needed that name to match the car, the registration, and once he
Gotcha.
had disappeared from that, he threw it all away, except
Okay,
for
so
yeah,
okay, gotcha. Oh wow. So now he's setting up shop in
all ready to do it
Arizona.
again. Yeah,
Oh my God.
he's just back at it. He's getting clients. They're driving 60 miles out of the way out of Phoenix to use his services. He's back and going. And then after a couple of months, he has a pang in his heart for his wife and his
Oh,
children. He just misses his wife and children so desperately. And he'll drive over to Dallas and hover
Hmm.
around, and then go back to Phoenix. And eventually this will be his undoing. And it's, again, there's a weirdness to this whole thing because he had such a tremendous love for his wife and children. I mean, a genuine, sincere love. And to put this together, I mean, I guess that's what a psychopath is, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly what
Yeah.
a psychopath is, that he can be this on one hand, but he is this in reality.
Right. Psychopaths, they're very self-preservationists. Anything that they can do to get ahead, that's what they'll do, be damned on who it hurts and, who it affects. But, I mean, they can have love, it could be his love for his family is a fear of abandonment, or something with his childhood that he didn't get with his mom, that's why he yearns for his family so much, and he's torn between that sociopathic mindset where it's almost like it hurts him to love people, and
Well, I think it's the only time he knew love and family. I mean,
yeah.
it was real. I love this. I love what I have here.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
all of that is real.
Okay, so
Self-preservation is the primary mover.
yeah, because I mean, otherwise, why would you off your dear friend that you've known your whole life? Why would you do that to your family unless, you obviously are putting yourself first and you're just a very selfish person?
I think it is important to stress how important his family was to him. It will eventually become his undoing
Yeah,
because he wants them. He
yeah.
needs them so badly, and he will. It's like he keeps dipping his toe in the water to get closer and closer to her. Now, keep in mind, she believes he's dead. The kids
Hmm.
believe he's dead. It's been nothing but trauma in her world for months, but he will eventually send a message to her through the guy he's staying with in Phoenix.
Okay.
He says, "There's somebody that needs to speak with you." And
Oh,
she's like, I don't need to talk to anybody. I mean, she's in mourning.
yeah.
You're going to you want to talk to this person. And she
Okay.
says, why? And he says a phrase that she recognizes between them.
Oh, okay.
And he says, go to this motel room, room number 6.
Yeah.
And she opens the door and her husband's sitting there. And she just falls apart. I mean, it's just,
Right.
I mean, can't you just feel that emotion? I mean, and you have
Oh
to
my
keep in mind,
gosh.
we uncovered this. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
we uncovered this, and you're going, oh my gosh. Oh, I mean, does she run up and start pounding on his chest, or does she hug him and kiss him? And what would she do?
Right.
I mean, I
I
just
know.
can't.
You thought it's like you're
I mean,
feeling all stages of grief all at once. It's
I
just like,
know.
my God. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I
And so
I-
she maintained all along. She never knew anything about any of his activities. Certainly nothing about the plane, the Los Angeles stuff. She just thought he was a successful doctor. Now,
Mhm.
that's been seriously questioned, but
Yeah.
she has always maintained that. She also maintained that she never had any communication. So the scene I just described, she maintained never happened. No idea. Never had any contact with him until she could not defend that position any longer. And then she's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, we did meet. We did talk. We did meet several times. I did know he was alive.
Mhm.
And it is, but all of that comes out after he's arrested, and he will be arrested
Mhm.
for this. He's arrested
Wow.
in Phoenix. He's in Phoenix in a motel room, thinking he's going to meet her.
Mm-hmm.
And his friend in the hideout calls the FBI and says, "You can just wait in the lobby. He's going to be coming down."
Oh, talk about double crossing, man.
And talk about
Oh,
a Hollywood twist, right? I mean, he turns him in, and the reason he turns him in is because he keeps seeing these black FBI cars driving back and forth in front of his house in this hideout. And he's like, they're going to
oh,
get me. They're going to get me. So the best thing I could do is send him
yeah.
over there. And all of a sudden, all the cars took off and they arrest him in a quite dramatic scene. They see they're all sitting in the lobby of a motel. Again, 1950s motel. It was had fake palm trees in it and all. I mean, you just the vibe is off
Yeah.
the charts. It's just so cool. Drinking martinis in the little lounge, And so these are all cops, and they're all dressed up in tourist type stuff. And he comes bounding down the stairs with two things of luggage, which turn out to be full of cash. So he's running down the stairs. They've called a taxi. The taxi's out front. The taxi door is open. He goes running through the lobby and he he throws the suitcase in the taxi. He dives into the taxi and the FBI men grab his feet and he's yelling to the taxi driver, drive away, get going. So the
Oh
driver's
my God.
driving away. They're hanging on to his feet while he's doing that. I mean, it's a story. Winnie, it's a story.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, this is like a crazy Hollywood movie. It's like sounds like Park Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, it's everything.
Catch Me If You Can. I mean, where's Quentin Tarantino? He needs to make
Yeah.
this film like ASAP because this is nuts. To
That
have,
the 18-year-old clerk, the girl who's the 18-year-old clerk, becomes a minor celebrity in town because she starts really puffing up her story and her role. I knew something wasn't right. I mean, all of a sudden she's a celebrity. She's being interviewed by all the TV stations, everything.
uh-huh.
I mean, now she's in the spotlight. I turned him
Oh,
in, all this stuff. It's like, no, you did nothing. But
oh
anyway,
my gosh. That is crazy. I mean, I, oh my God, just like the twists and the turns and just the the comedic nature of it all too. I mean, it's just this cat and mouse type thing, and he's diving into taxi cab while the FBI are grabbing his feet. I mean, my goodness. So he finally gets arrested,
yeah,
obviously. So, because we're gonna kind of, we only got about 10 more minutes left. So I kind of want to have the scenario where things start unraveling for him. What, what, at this point, what led him to going to Hollywood? And like, what we're going to talk about in the next episode is the backroom abortion ring that was happening in Hollywood during the 50s and 60s. And that's basically he was the Dr. Feelgood for that position in Hollywood. So at this point, is he like captured and like, or what's going on once he's in that cab
yeah.
and the FBI's got him by the feet? Where do we go from there?
Yeah, well, it's no longer local police anymore. For one thing,
Yeah.
he downed an airliner. So now it's all FBI. They pull him out. They arrest him, they put him in jail, they start the whole interrogation process. He denies everything. Just he says, "No, I mean, I'm a good Samaritan. I'm the good guy in this story because my buddy had a sore neck and I gave him my plane ticket." Now, it's tragic that he died, and I don't know what happened to that plane, but it must have been a plane failure, a mechanical failure of the plane, which they know it wasn't because they saw the charred bomb parts floating in the water. But anyway, um,
Hmm.
they he says, "No, I mean, I'm a good guy. I gave the guy my plane ticket. I offered to drive
Hmm.
his car. So I did nothing wrong. I've never done anything wrong." And they're like, "Well, then why have you been in hiding all the time?" Because my name's in the headlines of every newspaper. I'm not going to walk out. They're telling me they're going to arrest me for this. Why would I come out? Okay, yeah, I get that. So they cannot the FBI cannot put together a case that proves he blew up that plane.
Oh no.
So he is arrested for transporting a stolen vehicle across state lines,
That's
and
it.
he gets he gets 5 years in prison.
Uh-huh.
He's sent to Terminal Island, which is like off Long Beach in California. He serves all 5 years there, model prisoner. He walks out, classic movie scene, right? I mean, they open the
Hmm.
gate. He's got his cheap suit on and a suitcase. He walks out, and this detective that's been tracking him arrests him 2 steps out after he's got out the door, and he arrests him for abortion. And
Oh,
he gets 10 years. He is sent to Alcatraz, and
okay.
he is a friend and partner of the Birdman of Alcatraz during that time. And he is there. He's eventually he's sent to Springfield to a federal prison there because he had cancer. He develops cancer, and they
Okay.
had medical facilities. He's let out early on kind of humanitarian reasons.
Okay.
When he's released, he goes back to Dallas. He rents a very small apartment that is
Mm-hmm.
within walking distance of his wife, who has since remarried.
Okay.
And he spends the rest of his life, which is only a few years, just watching his wife and his daughter from afar, just longing to see them until he never talks to them again. He never has any contact with them again. He's just hopelessly in love with them. And he will just go to places where he knows they'll be so he can see them.
Yeah. I bet going through his mind, like looking at his family from afar and just not having being in their lives like he wants. I mean, I wonder if he reflected back and be like, was this all worth it? I mean,
Yeah, I know. You asked earlier, does he like, is there ever regrets or anything? I think he just operated on a different plane. I think on this plane is I can make money doing this, and I'm
mhm,
really, really good at it. And these people are such suckers. I mean, he would go
right.
after conventioneers, like insurance conventions, and he would scam them mercilessly. And
Oh,
but over here, I think he's like, but this is who I really am in my own heart.
yeah,
So there's just a tragedy all the way around. Every part of it's tragic. Every part of it's tragic. Now, I will say, I
right.
know time's out, but part of how I know so much in depth in this is we were able to get a hold of the actual FBI records. So I have 1,000 pages of interviews of
Wow.
everyone from neighbors and friends to, the key people involved in every single thing. And nobody else, to my knowledge, has those records. Not easy to get. And
Mm-hmm.
what we'll find out and what we'll talk about in the next episode is that those FBI records revealed amazing things that are not related to him. So when they're doing research, FBI is doing their deep research and interrogation, they uncover something that is mind blowing. And it's in there.
Oh.
It was redacted and it was hidden, and I have it.
Oh, that's awesome. What a cliffhanger to end this episode on, because that sounds very intriguing. Because, yeah, and it is kind of sad because that's how they had to run these abortion operations back then because it was an illegal thing to do. So, I mean, it is horror stories of women literally going to a supposed doctor and he's using a coat hanger up there to
Yeah.
eliminate the pregnancy, and to know that that's how desperate women were to take care of these issues. So he just, I mean, he knew that there was that need and he just fed on it. And
And we'll find out next time
oof,
that
yes.
this network is vastly more extensive than anyone ever realized.
Wow,
The
yeah, we're definitely,
network.
yeah, we're gonna dive into that because that seems very intriguing to me, and I know my listeners will be chomping at the bit to know what's going on back in that network. But we have author Jerry Jamison. We were just talking about the book Vanishing Act, the crashed airliner, fake death, and backroom abortions, which we're going to pop into another episode because that alone deserves a full hour just to talk about these backroom abortions and the FBI files that you have, and that we're going to go over some of those because that's going to be very intriguing. But I'll have a link for your book in today's description along with your Amazon author page so people can check out all your other works, especially those Tales of Suspense series. I'm going to have fun on Kindle. But yeah, please check it out. And your website is jerryjamison.com. Is that correct?
That is correct. And all of my books are on there. And like I said, there's a little bit about me that might be surprising as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Jerry. This story, I mean, I swear we could probably do a serial episodes on this story because it's crazy, and I'm definitely going to get this book and I'm going to read it because I'm intrigued to what's going to happen throughout this book because this is not just a true crime book. I mean, this is like a Hollywood script. I mean, and you can envision the stuff he was doing. It's crazy. The cons that he got past people, and that's the problem with people who are conners. Once they get away with one, they keep going and going and going. And this led
60 years of it. He had 60 years of nothing but success until he would do one thing wrong, and then he'd go to prison and goes, "I'm okay. I'll spend 5 years in prison. I'm all right with it."
It's just like it doesn't faze them. So, but yeah, thank you so much for your time, Jerry. This is very intriguing, and I can't wait to get on to that other episode and talk about all the other aspects to this story and the abortion underground ring that he had going on. I mean, this is extensive, and a lot of people probably don't know about it, but it's part of our history. So yeah, I love history. You guys love history, so why not go through it? So thank you so much, Jerry, and thank you guys all. I hope to see you all next week. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot. And until our next case, my armchair detectives, stay safe, stay vigilant, and stay aware. I'll see you right here next week on Mysteries, Mayhem, and Merlot.